Alright, this is your second video for the weekend, looking at concern for privacy off the PowerPoint. A growing money economy led to middle class, which impacted how homes were shaped. During the consumer revolution, homes began to be designed with specific rooms for specific functions, and so privacy becomes a central focus. So this is one of the effects of the consumer revolution, the shift towards urban areas. That before, like in rural areas, you had one giant room for everybody, and now as time goes on, especially if you could afford it with middle class, you would have multiple rooms and a focus on privacy in general. One new creation was the boudoir, which is a private retreat area for the wife and a place to dress, relax, and read, basically to be free from the husband and any demands that she had in the household. The evolution of the boudoir reflects the emerging concept of domesticity, which we're going to talk more about that later on in second semester. But this idea of the home as a private sphere or distinct from the public, like basically the public is all this hard reality work, and the home is this relaxation sphere that becomes the domain of women, especially by the 1800s when you have a strong middle class developed. Homes, so the home served as a refuge from outside influences. One other thing too that's in the key concepts they want you to be aware of is that novels also encourage a reflection on private emotion. So a lot of novels promoted you having your own private reflection of emotion and wanted people to read on their own and make reading a very private experience, not a public experience. All right, switching slides to number 19, an emphasis on private revelation of religion. So under the influence of the Enlightenment, religion, formerly a matter of public allegiance to an established church, like Lutherans or Catholics, whatever the case is, now became more of a matter of individual conscience. The different religions emphasized this because it showed conversion was an example of true belief. So basically, as opposed to just being identified as a member of the Catholic Church, basically if it's more personal now. So if you achieve salvation, then you show that you are actually doing it on your own, and you made the decision not just because you're a member of the church, and that you actually have gone through salvation because it was a personal choice on your part. So two big movements here. Methodism is the first big one in the mid-1700s, developed by John Wesley, who's from England. John Wesley was troubled by a lot of new non-religious ways of changes that are happening in the Enlightenment. Here, he focused on a lot of intense personal revelation that led him to form the Methodist movement, which spread across Europe and beyond. A lot of missionary aspects to Methodism. There's a lot of big emphasis on that. The focus was on a personal experience with God through which any individual could earn salvation. That's the big emphasis, that it's a personal experience with God through which any individual could earn salvation. This very much appealed to the growing working class and middle class. There was also a lot of appeal from the importance on charitable work in the Methodist Church. So there's also appeal for the importance of charitable work. He preached in open air, in fields, and in public spaces for the masses to hear. That's one defining feature of Methodism, is besides the missionary aspect, also preaching to large groups, especially outside, because you can get more people that way. The other popular religious movement was Pietism, which is developed in Germany. So at the same time that Methodism was developing in the mid-1700s, you have German Pietism, developed originally from like Lutheran movements. It emphasized mystical personal experience and the primacy of the Bible. So the Pietism emphasized mystical personal experience and the primacy of the Bible. Personal piety was now influenced by the Enlightenment to also view humans as creatures of reason. So people began to regard individual moral behavior as a key to salvation and considered all believers as lay priests of the church. So essentially with Pietism, it's regarded individual moral behavior as key to salvation and considered all believers to become lay priests of the church, or could be lay priests of the church. Pietism was known for its enthusiastic and emotional religious services, which welcomed all social classes. It also promoted educational reform too. Being in Germany, a lot of educational reform was part of this as well. Members were encouraged to undertake evangelizing missions, kind of like Methodism. Wesley himself was influenced by this movement as well. All right, last thing I want to talk about, we're going to cover the last slide, slide 20, on Monday. It'll take all of 10 minutes. on infectious disease and medical practices, and that'll be it for this unit. We finally be done. So last thing I'm going to say is a new toleration. Another Enlightenment influence was the growth of nationalism, or primarily having loyalty to your country over your religion. This helped to de-emphasize a lot of religious differences over time. So basically, if you're focused more on like becoming French than you are becoming Catholic, then people stop caring as much about being Catholic or Huguenots or Protestant or whatever the case is. Also, Europeans had developed general fatigue about religious differences because of decades and centuries of war going back a long time. By 1800, many governments had extended toleration to Christian minorities and sometimes even Jews. So here's some examples of that. England passed the Toleration Act in the 1680s for most Protestants, but they didn't tolerate Catholics or Unitarians. France gave all Protestants freedom under Louis XVI in the 1780s, and then the French Revolution government offered civil rights to Jews in the 1790s, one of the first ones to do that. The Prussian government under Frederick the Great accepted exiles like Huguenots and Jews. Austria under Joseph II tolerated all Christians and Jews until he died and his brother took over. Even with all this progress, though, Jews guided very unevenly, and they were still prohibited from some jobs and areas to live in. Okay, so I'll finish our notes, and then make sure you have those done, and then Monday we'll finish up this unit, and we'll be able to test on Tuesday. Good luck.